Welcome to Pure Mind Magic, the show to evolve your mind. Our mind is the most powerful thing we have, but no one teaches us how to use it. When we find out how, we're ready to create magic in life and in business. Learn real mindset secrets from brilliant minds around the world to change your mindset and income level forever. With every decision you make, you create your future. What is your next move? Now, welcome your host, international magician, speaker, and podcast performance consultant, Jennifer S. Royal.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pure Mind Magic Show. Last week was really technical, all about online and offline security. So I decided to talk today about something more creative, something that has to do with Hollywood. And maybe you are like me, that you just love movies and stories that are made in Hollywood and in Los Angeles, the city where they say that dreams come true. And I've been in the city several times, and it really has this kind of magical flair, I have to say. And from time to time, I have guests here on the show that have to do in some way or another with Hollywood. For example, I had the acting coach of Arnold Schwarzenegger here on the show as well. And today is another episode for Hollywood Time. So I got someone who is writing and is very involved into the Hollywood scene. Her name is Eva Rojano. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly now. She's from Mexico, and she will tell us about the creative writing process. And she's very much into RoboCop and got a lot of inspiration from the film. So she reached out to get in contact with Ed Neumeyer, the creator behind the movie. And she also had the pleasure to meet Nancy Allen, like one of the main actors from the movie when you saw the movie. Before we dive into this short interview of today, I also wanted to mention that maybe you are a creative person as well, and maybe you love to collect ideas from everywhere. And I have to admit that I get a lot of ideas actually from listening to podcasts from all around the world. They become more and more popular, and you get all this amazing knowledge from other people. So you can pick all the brains and really get inspired to big things. And from time to time, I found that I get lost with all my notes. So this is why I decided to create a podcast listening journal where you can put everything you are learning from your listenings in one place, and you can always come back and just look it up, what you have learned and what you noted down, like free resources, books, or other recommendation given by the speakers on the show. So you can pick up a copy that will be print on demand and delivered by Amazon to your home anywhere in the world. I'll leave a link in the show notes so you can get yours today if you like. And I have to say, it's really a big help. So it helps to stay away from all this mess and chaos. And most important, not to lose any of ideas that could have a big impact in your life and in your business. So let's head over back to the interview I was talking about. And Eva will tell us a little bit about the novel she's writing on at the moment of recording, with the title Blood Butterfly, that is inspired by the film RoboCop, and also how she manifested like meeting real Hollywood players. So it's an interesting, short, entertaining interview, and I'm sure you will like her energy. So get ready to get inspired for the weekend. And here she is for you from Mexico, Eva Rojano. Eva, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you very much for inviting me. Such an honor to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing some insights from the creative world with us. So first, please give a short introduction to the listeners about yourself.
Well, I can say that I am a freelance writer and illustrator. I'm also a university teacher in my hometown. I'm a graphic designer. And I'm very passionate about sci-fi, about the world of science fiction, cinema. And I have been a RoboCop fan all my life. I wanted to say to you that ever since I was 12 years old and I saw the film saga, I became very much in love with it. So for a long time, I have been in the fan world, and I have had the pleasure to be in touch with the actress Nancy Allen, which was a dream come true to go to Hollywood and see her. But right after that, I had the inspiration to create my own fan fiction novel that is on a website of ongoing chapters, RoboCap Enhanced Reality. Unfortunately, my fan fiction novel, as you probably imagine, cannot be licensed because I don't own the rights on the characters. So it has to remain free for the fans. Although creating this project led me to a very interesting result. I want to say to you, you're not a native English speaker like me, so you probably imagine the complexity, which is writing a novel in a different language. In this case, for me, English is my second language. So RoboCap Enhanced Reality was my exercise. I started developing chapters and publishing them, and then I got readers. Thanks to that, I got to meet writer Ed Neumeyer, which is the main creator of RoboCop. Mr. Neumeyer and co-writer Michael Miner developed the original RoboCop in 1987, which is almost already 32 years ago. And I got to speak to him, as I previously mentioned to you. And this interaction with someone who's a real writer, someone who's become legend in the Hollywood world, inspired me or motivated me to create my own novel, which is going to be my first licensed product. And this is why I am here to talk about it.
Very nice. So you really do have an interesting background in the creative world. And I think everyone is fascinated by Hollywood and how everything comes together in Hollywood and how pictures and words come to life, like from the paper. So can you give us some more insights on how it was? You said it was like a dream come true to meet Nancy Allen. So how did you make that happen? Are you into manifesting, or how did that happen?
I believe that we are the creators of our own destiny, and I firmly believe that if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. And this was a process of many years, a creation process. I had promised myself when I was a kid that one day Nancy Allen was going to know who I was, her biggest fan in Mexico. And at the time, Jennifer, I didn't even speak English. She was a motivation. RoboCop, the films, and Nancy were a big motivation for me to learn English. So it took me years to try to contact her over the internet. I remember I learned to do websites and I sent her a letter. I did all kinds of things. Then finally, I set up this very small tribute. It was done with all my heart and soul, but it was very poorly done back in 2003, 2004, I think. And I was lucky enough that Nancy saw the website and just sent me an email. I still have that email. People around, back then there were no social media websites such as Twitter or Facebook. And people kept telling me, what if it's not the real Nancy Allen? But if you believe in the power of manifestation, in the law of attraction, you would have believed me, Jennifer, that it was Nancy for real. And of course it was her. We started talking, we developed this friendship, and it was in 2015 when I finally had the chance to go see her. Right now, Nancy is the director of this organization, WeSpark, in LA, and she is in charge of organizing events such as comedy events, screenings. And I remember I went there with my brother to one of her scheduled events, but she knew that my main focus was, of course, going there to meet her. And it was a wonderful experience. I mean, she took me for lunch, my brother and I. She gave us a ride in her car. She took us to see the Hollywood letters up close, the Hollywood sign that we all see in the movies. So imagine what that was for me. I think that in some way injected me probably the creativity to develop my fan fiction novel later on. 2 years later. No, I think it was a year later after I met her.
All right. So that is really fascinating how you made that happen, and that you already as a kid had this wish and this picture in your mind to meet her. So wonderful. I can imagine that this was really inspirational for you. And I'm really curious about you giving us some more information on your novel you're writing on, The Blood Butterfly. So what is this story all about?
Okay. So back in 2016, that was when I started developing RoboCap Enhanced Reality, my first writing project that became live. And shortly after, writer Ed Neumeyer said that he was interested to see what I was doing with it, because I publicly said to the fan base that I was intending to save the character of Anne Lewis, which was played by Nancy, because she was unfairly killed in the third movie of the saga. So that was my main focus. And then I wanted to develop more the relationship between the main two characters. But then talking with Ed, as I said, became like a different kind of motivation. I mean, being in touch with the source creator, I mean, you end up, I don't know, having this emotional attachment or this teen crush for your idol. So imagine who I had in front of me. It was Ed Neumeyer himself. So in 2018, we didn't know what he was working on. He had said to me that he was working on a new writing project, and that when someone writes for money, there's a lot of pressure. But I had no idea what he was working on. So in January 2018, Ed went to the Barbados International Film Festival. And it was right there when he was brave enough to tell the world what he was working on, which was a new RoboCap film. That's another story for another time. It's been quite complex what they're doing with this pre-production that is tentatively going to be called RoboCap Returns. But I won't talk about that. I talk about that on my articles. So I remember that was shocking for me to know what he was working on. And then I felt this emotion, overwhelming emotion. When I saw the pictures, I told him that I thought he looked very handsome, very classy. And I started building a story around that. For a while, I had been writing short tales, silly stories, starring him and I in alternate universes in which we got to meet, and then we got to live this romance. And I believe he was very amused, like, oh, okay, this fan writing these short stories for me. So after the Barbados thing, the festival, I told him I'm gonna write a new story starring you and I, and it was originally called The Barbados Fantasy. And I said to him, I imagine that you're this important man, classy, sophisticated, and you are in a beautiful place like Barbados. And I am a high-level escort, looking for clients, a girl that sells sexy services. And I went through many makeovers to be able to be this girl in his universe. And then we get to meet. I get to sit down at his table, and he knows what I am. And still he decides to embark on the adventure. So originally it was just a very short story of us living this imaginary romance for as long as his trip lasted. But then again, Jennifer, just like with RoboCop Enhanced Reality, I started to have inspiration to develop it more. The conversation that Matt and Anna, the two main characters of my story, it started to become more and more complex inside my mind. So I went back with Ed Neumeyer and I said to him, guess what? I'm going to turn it into a complete novel. I'm going to turn it into a serious story, and I'm going to publish it. So what do you think? And that's how it started.
That is really amazing. And maybe, Eva, you can give the listeners a few tips here, because I know a lot of people are interested in writing a fiction and publishing novels, but obviously there is a lot to do that, and you have to be able to imagine all these characters and the storyline and bringing everything together. So when someone is listening, and obviously you are very good with the pictures in your mind and then bringing them to life, even in your own life, like meeting all these people and getting the chance to talk to them, what I think many people would dream of, but are never able to do it. So what can you give them as practical advice? How do you get into the great creative mood? Do you have any kind of routines or rituals? So how do you sit yourself down, start writing, start imagining?
Well, first I'm going to give advice that it doesn't really come from me, but comes from Edward Neumeyer himself. He says that in order to develop a story, you need a premise. The premise is, what are you going to offer to the world with your story? It has to have a message. RoboCop Enhanced Reality, I kept thinking about many premises, but the main one was that I wanted to rescue Anne Lewis, and I wanted to develop the story of RoboCop and her, that, I believe that spiritual connection transcends the physical form, and he was going to walk a path. I mean, it's ongoing. I'm still working on that. So that was the premise, that he was going to walk a new path as a man. And then with the Black Butterfly, the premise, and I had to think about it when I decided to make it into a novel, was that life is made of second and third chances, because it's not a conventional love story of two people that get to meet and everything is beautiful and they are perfect and they are young to get married and have kids. No. It's a story of a escort that is already 40 years old, and the accountant, who's 55, divorced 2 times, that gets to meet her, and he won't let her go. I mean, he will see luck right in front of his eyes. He won't care about the life she has had. And that's how the story would develop. So that's the premise of my second story, focusing on what Ed Neumeyer has taught me. Also, he says that any story has 3 acts. The first act is like setting up all the environment, introducing all the characters. Then, second act, something happens. Let's take, for example, RoboCop. Something happens. Alex Murphy gets killed and rebuilt as a cyborg, right? And that's when all the complexity develops. And the third act is the conclusion. What is going to happen, or how are you going to resolve the problem that happened on second act? But then again, those are the main, recommendations that Edward Neumeyer gives us as, his fans and aspiring writers. But then, about me, I can tell you that my creative process works a bit different than Ed's, because I am mostly a graphic artist. I am an illustrator, or I have been an illustrator much before I decided to take the next step and become a writer. So my creative process is first envisioning the characters in my mind, almost like a dream, the colors. Then I portray it on paper. Once I have the graphic image of the characters, once I have the drawings in front of me, I color them in Photoshop and I dream about them and everything, then I'm ready to write. Actually, illustrating to some degree what I'm writing is my creative process to not suffer so much from writing anxiety. That is something anyone that wants to start a project should be prepared of. Your life is never going to be the same once you decide to become a writer. You will wake up at insane hours in the morning, or you will go to bed at insane hours, because that's when you have the inspiration to keep on writing. You won't want people around you to distract you. You will not want your cat around you or your family. And you have to be ready that writing will become pretty much like a boyfriend or a girlfriend in your life. You have to give this new partner in your life some space. And don't get discouraged if you think that you're not advancing fast enough. I say, try to envision the beginning, the middle, and the end in your mind. Even if you haven't written it yet, think that your story will have an outcome, and that will motivate you to get to that outcome. And as I said, a creative process would be graphic images, creating them. Also, music helps, because as I said, you will live with anxiety from this moment on, and that's an undeniable fact, but you have to live with it if you want to be a creator.
Very interesting. I actually think I never heard of it going like that way, that you first come up with a drawing on paper and then bring it to life and start writing the story. But I like that. That is very cool. So, Eva, your new novel, The Blood Butterfly, is still a work in progress at the time of recording and will be out at the end of the year 2019. So where can we send everyone listening to find out more about the book now, and where can they grab a copy when it's published?
Well, so far I'm intending The Black Butterfly to become an ebook on Kindle. I have a person that is going to help me with the proof editing and the proofreading and editing, and I hope that by the end of the year it is being sold on Amazon Kindle. Also, I have a website. I'll give you the link, the RoboCap Enhanced Reality website, where people can follow my RoboCap chapters, and I'll be announcing it there. Not so long ago, I was interviewed about The Black Butterfly by El Cine en la Sombra. It's a Spanish online cinema magazine I collaborate with. So it's going to be announced there too. And finally, I have been running a RoboCap fan group, the RoboCap and Anne Lewis fan group. I'm sending them shares and all my love and kisses. All my friends there will be the first ones that will get the premiere of me publishing the novel, because they're very interested in knowing what I've been doing with Ed Neumeyer. I mean, it's funny for them to think that the one that brought to us RoboCap has now become a character in someone else's story. So I don't have a date yet, but I'm hopeful that before this year ends, the book has been turned into a Kindle. I'll let you know about it.
Awesome. And maybe one last thing, Eva, about that, because we know that you're very creative. In case someone is interested to get your skills as a graphic designer or artist, to get them some inspiration for their novel, film, or whatever they are working on, how can they best connect with you?
Well, I'll leave you my links. They can find me on the social media. I have all my accounts there under my name, Eva Rojano. I have my Twitter account. I have my Facebook account. also my RoboCup website and my RoboCup fan page, fan group, sorry. So people can reach me out there. Actually, some of my readers, which is funny, have been reaching me out through my website, and they became friends right after. One of them even became a collaborator with the story, Lenora, and she's German like you, very passionate about RoboCup. So that's how they can reach me out. Also, I work on freelance websites as a graphic designer. So getting a hold of me on the internet is relatively easy.
Very good. Eva, thank you so much for coming on to Pure Mind Magic today and sharing all this creative insights about the creation process of a novel, and also giving us some insights on Hollywood and how you met all those great people who are also doing this fantastic creative projects. So I would say let's stay in touch. I will share all your links in the show notes of this episode, and I wish you a magical day in Mexico.
Well, I wish you a magical day over there too. Thank you so much for inviting me to the show. This has been fun, and it has been quite an honor and a pleasure to meet you. I know your work, and I have been browsing your website, and wow, being part of it now, it's really great, gives me great motivation to finish what I'm working on. Thank you so much, Jennifer, and keep on creating us as well.
Thank you, Eva. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in today to the Pure Mind Magic interview with Eva Rojano on Interview Friday. Make sure to check out her work, and when you're looking for a freelance graphic designer or just someone who can give you some new ideas, reach out to her, because she's really amazing on all the creative things. And also, as I mentioned, in case you would like to grab your podcast listening journal, where you can put in all notes from all podcasts, all episodes you are listening to store that in one place, check out the link in the show notes below this episode, so you can get your copy today from Amazon delivered to your home. Enjoy your weekend. Talk to you next week. Until then, create some magic.